Good day, madam. My name is Parinder Singh, and my metric card number is 82280630. And we are from Group 12, and we will be presenting our research on a topic that is quite interesting and also relevant in today's business landscape, which is sustainable packaging in F&B industry. Without wasting any time, we straight move on to the research problem and framework. There are 4 points that has a research problem and framework, which is high cost of sustainable materials, supply chain limitation, inconsistent regulations, and also consumer behavior gap. Our research investigates the core challenges faced by F&B companies, obviously, in adopting sustainable packaging solutions. While consumers are keep pushing in for the greener products, businesses are often face a lot of challenges to make this transition difficult and hard to execute. Through the stakeholder theory, our study explores how economic, regulatory, and social pressures that influence a company, especially in F&B company, decision to implement sustainable packaging. We are quite focused on cost, consumer demand, or customer demand, supplier support, and regulatory pressure as our main variables.
Hi, I'm Malalali Rajendran and my metric number is 822A065. This part explains the methodology of our research on sustainable packaging in Malaysia's food and beverage industry. First, our research design was quantitative. We used a questionnaire to gather data from 132 respondents. We focused on the challenges of using sustainable packaging. We used simple statistics to analyze the result. Next, data collection involved a questionnaire made in Google Form. We sent it to F&B managers, supervisors through WhatsApp. The data was then moved to Excel and SPSS for analysis. We chose readily available participants using a convenience sample. Our sampling method was random, targeting F&B managers in Malaysia. Then we use a table to decide on our sample size of 132. However, we also use convenience sampling to get participants easily. Finally, we use SPSS to analyze our data. We first explore the data, then we use multiple regression and descriptive statistics to see how different factors related to companies' commitment to sustainable packaging. These factors include cost, customer demand, supplier support, and government rules.
Hi, my name is Neo Ichi and my metric number is 822A0673. I'm going to present about the analysis and findings. So we have four independent variables and one independent variable for our report. The first IV is cost of sustainable packaging. The second is customer demands. The third is supplier support. The fourth is regulatory pressures, and our dependent variables is company commitment to sustainable packaging. So the highest average means goes to IV4, which is regulatory pressure. Its average means is 3.89 and has the low standard deviations in between 0.957 and 1.106. Next, there are five sections for the respondents to answer, which are about the four IVs and DV of our report. So the first table is the result of one of the critical questions from section B, which is the first IV. The result shows 31.1% of respondents agree that sustainable packaging is more expensive than traditional packaging, while 4.5% strongly disagree. The table 2 shows one of the results of section C, which is about the second independent variables. There are 34.8% of respondents strongly agree that their customers expect them to use the sustainable packagings, while 6.1% strongly disagreed. The following tables are one of the results of section D, E, and F. For section D, there are 36.4% strongly agree that they collaborate with suppliers on sustainable initiative, while 4.5% strongly disagree. Moreover, there are also 36.4% of respondents agree the government regulations influence their packaging decisions, and only 1.5% strongly disagree of this statement. For our DV, there are 40.9% of respondents has set clear goals for sustainable packaging, while also only small percent with 1.5% of respondents strongly disagree. Next is about univariate statistic. According to all of the results, the cost has remained a major barrier, and finding reliable suppliers seems to be a common difficulty. There are 34.8% agree customer expect sustainable packaging, but also there are 35.6% says customer won't pay more. Some companies agree that they have good relationship with supplier, but others may feel difficult due to lack of the supplier's knowledge. The government regulation has strong influence, with 40.9% strongly agreeing clearer regulation would speed adoption. This may help companies to prepare for the future of sustainable packaging since it has shown that many businesses are integrating sustainability into their plans and taking it seriously. Moreover is the significant relationship between variables. The strongest correlation is between the regulatory pressures, which is the fourth IV, and the company commitment, which is our DV. Next, there are also negative impacts in which is the higher cost, reduced commitment. Next, the hypothesis testing. The result shows that it supported the first hypothesis, which is the relationship between the cost of sustainable packaging and company commitment is negative. Due to the higher the cost of sustainable packaging, the lower the company commitment will. Besides, the fourth hypothesis also strongly supported, which is the relationship between regulatory pressure and the company commitments are important. That is a positive relationship due to the higher the regulatory pressure, the higher the company commitment will. That's all for me. Thank you.
Hello and Assalamualaikum to Madam and everyone. My name is Nur Amalin Hanis binti Rohaili and my metric number is A22A0642. So today I will explain about 4.0, which is discussion part. I will discuss about similarities and differences with another research. The first one, we're gonna talk about differences. Focus of analysis, our research emphasized the statistical analysis of barrier faced by company through survey data. Other studies may focus more on consumer perception or technological innovation to overcome barriers, but the sample population and methodology, our study survey managers and sustainability officers in 132 companies using questionnaires analyzed with SPSS. Some study employ qualitative interview, case studies, or focus groups for deeper insight. But implication and recommendation, our findings suggest building supplier networks and clear regulations as key steps. Alternative research may emphasize consumer education campaign or technological and advancement. That's all. Next, we're gonna talk about the similarities. For part similarities, the first one we're going to talk about recognition of cost as a major barrier. The first one is both studies identify high cost as a significant obstacle to implementing sustainable packaging in the food and beverage industry. The second one is about influence of consumer demand. Both acknowledge that consumer interest and willingness to pay influence companies' decisions towards sustainable packaging. The last one is role of regulatory policies. Both highlight the importance of government regulations and policies in encouraging sustainable practices. So the last part, we can see that this research align with others showing that there are certain variables, especially IV4, have a strong influence on the outcome, and that the model explain about 51% of the variance. However, it differs in that IV2 is not significant here. Unlike in some studies where all predictors matter. Overall, it highlights that some variables are more impactful and effects can vary across different contexts. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, madam. My name is Jocelyn and my mission number is 8228066. I present about the recommendation. So this study hopes that more F&B industry can use the result of this study to more effectively plan budget, such as bulk purchase. So this study also want to convince that the F&B industry can gradually adopt sustainable packaging while controlling costs and taking into account environmental goals. Next, this study at F&B company in understanding customer expectation, developing sustainable strategy, and enhancing customer loyalty and brand value by enhancing target, product, and marketing strategy. Moreover, this study encouraged F&B company to establish sustainable alliance with vendors, assess supplier sustainability credential, and use sustainability as purchasing criteria. This study also can help policymakers assess F&B company need for subsidy and sustainable packaging training, enabling swift implementation and avoiding fine and violation, preparing for future regulation. Finally, this study highlights the importance of strongly internal commitment for leadership and employee in successful implementation for sustainable packaging strategy. This practical implication can help company to make smarter, more strategic and sustainability and sustainable business decision. That's all. Thank you.
All right, we finally come to an end, which is conclusion. The key learning points of this research, which is cost remain the top barrier. The consumer demand does not always match the willingness to pay. Lack of supplier knowledge affects the implementation, and also stronger regulation leads to an higher adoption. Our research found that while many companies acknowledge the importance of sustainable packaging, and actual implementation is limited by practical challenges, which is, yeah, as we all know, that cost and supply chain issues. All right, we next move on to the next one is implication for business and policy. In this one, there is a need of cost effective economical eco materials. The next one is clearer regulations, stronger stakeholder collaboration, and also education for both suppliers and consumers. This means that for the F&B industry, to truly go greener products or adapting greener packaging, it requires not just an internal commitment, but also stronger support from the policymakers, suppliers, and also consumer. Yeah, that's all from our presentation. Thank you very much.